Okay, because actually, guys, C++ is the first object-oriented programming language that came into existence. C++ is the first object-oriented programming language that came into existence. And because C++ is the first object-oriented language that came into existence, you understand, because C++ is the first object-oriented programming language that came into existence. Okay. Um, at that time, at that particular point of time, no one came to know this type of problem is going to come in the picture. No one came to know this type of problem is going to come into picture because they don't know this type of problem doesn't come into picture. Okay, because no one knows this type of problem is going to come into picture here. They supported it, supported all, but later on what happened is, see, first day one only, no one comes to know the problems now. Day one only, no one comes to the problems. No one will come to know the problems in the T1. So because no one come to know the problems in the T1, at that particular point of time, what they thought is a great feature. What they thought is a great feature, but later on they came to know the problems in multiple inheritance, and from then onwards they stopped this multiple inheritance in the applications. From then onwards, they stopped this multiple inheritance in the application. So right now, multiple inheritance is not supported for us in the modern programming languages like Java, .NET, Python. In all these particular languages, multiple inheritance is not going to be supported. I hope you guys are clear. Okay, next. The next thing is the next and the last rule. The next and the last rule of inheritance. What the last rule of inheritance is? Guys, whenever I create the instance of the child class, what did I explain you? The control first jumps to its own constructor. The control first jumps to its own constructor, and from there it jumps to the parent class constructor. From there it jumps to the parent class constructor. Are you guys clear? Okay, from there it jumps to the parent class constructor. We have debugged it and we have watched up all the things also earlier. So first it jumps to its own constructor, and from there the control will jump to the parent class constructor. Okay, it is going to jump to the parent class constructor now. Okay, now answer my question. Parent class constructor is a default constructor, parameterized constructor right now? Guys, answer me. Right now, parent class constructor is a default constructor, parameterized constructor. Default constructor. Parent class constructor is a default constructor. So right now, when I create the instance, first the control is going and calling the parent class constructor here, and we can see that very clearly. Okay, it is calling the parent class constructor, we can see here. But I have a problem, guys. What is the problem, you know? Child class constructor, see right now, child class constructor is implicitly calling the parent class constructor. Am I right? Child class constructor is implicitly calling the parent class constructor. Am I right? Guys, listen. The child class constructor can implicitly call the parent class constructor. The child class constructor can implicitly call the parent class constructor, provided the parent class constructor is a default constructor. Provided the parent class constructor is a default constructor. But if at all the parent class constructor is parameterized, watch guys, if at all the parent class constructor is parameterized, see now, I'm making the parent class constructor as parameterized. Okay, this is a parameterized constructor. So if this is parameterized, you guys understand, the parent class constructor cannot be called by the child class now. The parent class constructor cannot be called by the child class. Did you understand me? child class constructor can implicitly call the parent class constructor only when the constructor is a default constructor, but cannot call when the constructor is a parameterized constructor. Hello, guys. Understood? So that cannot call here. Why it cannot call? Why it cannot call the constructor? Why the constructor calling cannot be done here? What is the problem? Okay. See, parameterized constructor requires a value for execution or not? Parameterized constructor requires a value for execution or not? Then see, if the parent class constructor is default, I can call directly. But if the parent class constructor is parameterized, think yourself here, how can I call? Because that is expecting a value for execution now. Tell me, that is expecting a value for execution or not? When that is expecting a value for execution, then how calling will be possible? When it is expecting a value for execution, then how calling will be possible? I hope you guys are clear. Okay. So that is why, because the parent class constructor requires a value for execution here, the child class constructor cannot pass that value now, because the child class constructor don't know what value will be required for the parent class to execute. So it cannot call. So it cannot call now. That's the reason why the code is not getting executed. Error coming. So what to do? Think yourself here. Now the child class constructor is not able to implicitly call the parent class constructor. I repeat. Now the child class constructor is not able to implicitly call the parent class constructor. So what to do? Understand the question correctly. In the question only you have a hint. The child class constructor is not able to implicitly call the parent class constructor for execution. What to do then? We need to call explicitly. We need to call explicitly. Okay? Now see, we need to call explicitly, and while calling it explicitly, we need to pass the required parameter values now. We need to call explicitly, and while calling it explicitly, we need to pass the required parameter values. All the required parameter values should be supplied to the parent class constructor. But how to call it explicitly? From where to call it explicitly? So many questions here. Okay, first point. From where to call it? From where I should call it? The first important point is from where I should call it. You're required to call it from the child class constructor. You're required to call it from the child class constructor. Okay, how to call it? You need to call it by using the base keyword. You need to call it by using the base keyword. See, error is coming at class 1. Error is coming at class 1 because error is coming at class 2 because class 2 constructor is not able to call the parent class constructor. Then how to call? All of you carefully watch, guys. Colon, base of, and I can pass a value like this. Base of, and I can pass a value. Now the value 10 goes to the class 1 constructor. Observe it, guys, all of you. Venta? Are you guys clearer? I can call it. But now tell me, this value 10 is static or dynamica? This value 10 is static or dynamica? Static, always the same value will go. Always the same value will be going for you. This is a static value. Okay, if at all you want to make it dynamic, do one thing. Define a parameter for class 2 also. Define a parameter for class 2 constructor also. Now class 2 constructor also has a parameter. Because class 2 constructor has a parameter, now tell me, is it mandatory for me to send the value from here or not? While creating an instance, is it mandatory to send a value or not? See, error coming here. mandatory. So I'm passing a value. I'm passing a value here, 50. Guys, the value for 50 first comes to x. The value of 50 first comes to x. And now I'm writing base of x. Now see, the value 50 goes to the parent. Guys, tomorrow you defined class 3 under class 2. Tomorrow you defined class 3 under class 2. When you define class 3 under class 2, all of you carefully observe. When you defined class 3 under class 2, class 3 is responsible for sending the value to class 2, and class 2 is responsible for sending the value to class 1. Did you catch my point, all of you? Suppose tomorrow there are 10 classes. If there are 10 classes in the hierarchy, 1 under that, 2 under that, 3 under that, 4 under that, 5, like this 10 classes are there. Okay. Class 10 is not responsible in sending the value to class 1. Class 10 is responsible in sending the value to class 9. 9 is responsible in sending the value to 8. 8 to 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Did you get my point? Right now, class 2 is sending the value to class 1. Tomorrow, if there is a class 3 under class 2, if there is a class 3 under class 2, class 3 is responsible for sending value to class 2, not for class 1. Class 2 is responsible in sending the value to class 1. Okay, guys? Okay, this is the rule number 6 of inheritance. This is the rule number 6 of inheritance. Come on, guys, read it, all of you. Read this. Read the rule number 6. Guys, is everyone clear? So if class has default constructor, the compiler will write. No, it won't write. It won't write here. It won't write. Why to write? That explicit calling is required only when you want to pass a value. Otherwise, that is an implicit behavior. Automatically it happens. That's an implicit behavior and automatically it happens. We don't require to write, or the compiler doesn't also write that code. Okay, guys, these are the 6 important rules of inheritance. Working with inheritance means you just require to follow each and every of this particular rule or explicitly. Okay, so these are the 6 rules of inheritance. These are the 6 rules of inheritance we are going to have. Are you guys clear? Okay, fine. Now let's try to understand, guys, where exactly this inheritance is going to be used in the applications. Where exactly this inheritance will be used in the applications. Let's try to understand about this one. Where exactly inheritance is going to be used in the application development. Okay, so let me tell you where exactly this can be used in the application development. Okay, now let's try understanding about this one, guys. See, I explained you a case study day before yesterday about inheritance. I explained you a case study about inheritance day before yesterday, right? Okay. A case study, banking ATM system case study. I just explained you. I explained you about a case study about the banking system ATM. Okay. So we just been talked about it, how the banking system, the ATMs are going to be working. Now, there we discussed about entities. Array, we discussed about entities, application development and all. Now watch, guys. I want to develop an application here. I want to develop a small application. If at all you want to develop an application, as per our discussion, what is the first part here? Identification of the entities, right? The first step is identification of the entities. Are you clear? Mine is a school application. Mine is a school application. The entities are student, teaching staff, and non-teaching staff. Mine is a school application. The entities are student, teaching staff, and non-teaching staff. These are the 3 entities. Okay. Now, second step, identify the attributes of each entity. Identify the attributes of each entity. Yeah, these are the attributes of the entities, guys. So student has an attribute ID, name, phone, address, class, section, marks, and fees. Teaching staff have the attributes like ID, name, phone, address, designation, salary, qualification, subject. Non-teaching also has attributes like ID, name, phone, address, designation, salary, department name, and GRID. And then the next step is going to design the tables. You're required to design the database. You're going to design the database. Okay. And the fourth step is you're required to develop the application. And in this process, you need to define the classes. The fourth step is design the application. And in this process, you require to define the classes, right? Okay. Now tell me, how many classes should I define here? How many classes should I define here? How many classes should I define here? 3 classes: student, teaching staff, and non-teaching staff. Student, teaching staff, and non-teaching staff. Okay, guys. The first class is the student class. Okay. Uh, I'm defining a class like this: class student. Now in the class student, int ID, ID. Class is also integer. Class. Next, string name, phone, address. Okay, these 3 are going to be string values. Next, char section. What is that here? Section here, A section, B section, C section, like this. That is about the section. Okay, char section. Then float marks piece. Float marks and piece. Yes, guys. Totally 8 attributes we have here. 8 attributes. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Are you clear? This is the first class. Second class. Teaching staff. The second class is teaching staff. Okay. The teaching staff. Come on. First attribute ID. Second attribute string. Name, phone, address, designation, salary, no, qualification, subject, qualification and subject, double salary. Yes, guys, totally 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Totally 8 attributes. Class, non-teaching staff. Here also int ID. There's an MGR ID here. MGR ID means the superior ID. That is also integer, comma MGR ID. Double salary. Next, string name, phone, address, designation, and department name, D name in the sense department name. Guys, are you clear? I defined all the 3 classes now. I defined all the 3 classes for you in this case now. Now, if you carefully observe this one here, okay, when you carefully observe this one, you just understand. When you carefully observe this one, there's a small problem here. What is the problem? With which language are we developing the application, guys? With which language are we developing this application? C#. Perfect. We are developing the application by using the C# language, with the C# language. Okay. And C# is an object-oriented language or procedural language? Object-oriented language. What is the main strength of an object-oriented language? What is the main strength of an object-oriented language? The main strength of an object-oriented language is security and reusability, guys. Security and reusability. Reusability. One of the great strength of an object-oriented language. Okay. Reusability. Reusability is one of the great strength of an object-oriented language. But see, guys, when reusability is the great strength of an object-oriented language, see the problem. Where are we using that reusability? Where are we using the reusability now? Are we using the reusability anywhere? Are we using the reusability anywhere? Why? Because you notice yourself here, ID, name, phone, address, these three are present in all the three. ID, name, phone, and address are present in all the three. Yes or not? But you defined them three times now. You defined them three times now. And you're working with a, guys, listen, you're working with a object-oriented language without using usability. Did you get my point or not? You're working with a object-oriented language without using reusability. Without using reusability, you're working with an object-oriented language. And how does it make sense here? How foolish it is, you understood now? Yes or not? Without using reusability, if you want to develop an application like this, why did you come to object-oriented languages? You can do the same thing with C language also, yeah? How, sir? By defining structures. By defining structures. Without defining classes, you can define a structure called student, a structure called teaching staff, a structure called non-teaching staff. And these structure doesn't support inheritance, and this is the main reason why we came to procedural languages to object-oriented languages. Are you clear, guys? We came to object-oriented language. Why we came? We came to an object-oriented language because procedural languages it doesn't support your reusability. We have entities in procedural languages also. We have them? Yeah, we have them. What is it? Structures. By using structure also, we can represent an entity now. But the point all of us have to keep in the mind is, a structure doesn't support inheritance. That is the main reason why we people came to an object-oriented programming language. Are you clearer, guys, all of you? But now you are developing, you are not using reusability here also, and you are building an application. So working with C# is really foolish now for us. We are developing foolishly. We are writing the code foolishly. Okay, sir, then how to overcome this problem? First, identify all the common attributes in the class, guys. First, identify all the common attributes in the three classes. Come on, guys. Identify all the common attributes in the three classes now. Tell me. Identify the common attributes in the three classes. ID, name, phone, and class. Now tell me ID, name, and phone and address. Can I define this in one class and make it as a parent class for these three classes now? See, guys. I want to define a class here called as person. I want to define a class called as person. Person, yeah, person is my class. In this, I'm declaring ID, int ID, next string name, phone, address. Okay, so once I define this, now can I come here and make this person class as a parent class. Just a minute. Public. Because if I don't say public, default is private, and private members are not invited to child class now. That's why I said public. Okay, public. Now see, can I delete this ID? Can I delete this ID and all these three things now here? Are you guys clear? Person here also. Delete ID, delete name, phone, address. Person. Are you guys clear? Are we using reusability? Are we using reusability in the code? Where you are, still there is a mistake now. Still there is a mistake. Identify. Still there is a duplication. Designation and salary. Designation and salary are duplicated now. Yes or not? So designation and salary are duplicated again. Yeah, yes, duplicated. So what to do? Guys, watch it. What I'm doing is, after student, here I'm inheriting from a class. Sorry, I'm defining a new class here. What is the class? Staff. My new class is staff. Inheriting from person. Inheriting from person. And now I'll say double salary and the string designation. Double salary and string designation. Okay, watch it, guys, all of you. Class staff person, double salary, string designation. Now see, how many attributes are defined in class staff? 2 attributes. So person has 4, staff has 2, 6 attributes, right? Now can I come here? And can I just inherit from this particular and remove this one? Can I do this? Now tell me, guys, how many attributes are present in each class? How many attributes are present in non-teaching? How many attributes are present in this class? How many attributes are present in the class non-teaching? Fool, 8 here, 8 all are telling 2, 6 brainless fellow. Did I ask you how many did I define? I asked you how many attributes are present in the non-teaching. 8 attributes. Why 8 attributes? Are 4 defined in person, 2 defined in staff, and 2 defined here. Total 8 na? Four plus two, total 8. 8 attributes are what you defined right now. So teaching also, you have 8 attributes. Okay. So did you use inheritance in the code or not now? Did you use inheritance in the code or not? So guys, all of you remember this point. Inheritance is a something. Inheritance is a something. How do we use this inheritance in the application development maze? Inheritance is something that we use in the starting of your application development only. Did you get me? Did we get my point or not? Did you understand my point? So what I'm just trying to tell you is, see, What I'm trying to tell is, since the starting day of our application development only, we just go for using the inheritance. See, how do we use inheritance in application development? Inheritance is a process which comes into picture from the initial stages of an application development, guys. Initial stages. As discussed earlier, if you want to develop an application, we need to follow the below process. As discussed earlier, if you want to develop an application, we need to follow the below process. So step 1, step 2, step 3 are very clear to you now. Step 1, step 2, step 3 are very clear now. I explained you already 2 days back only. 3 days back, I showed you a case study on this also. Okay. Now come to step 4, guys. Now come to step 4. Step 4 is developing an application that works like a UI. Step 4 is developing an application that works like a UI. Okay. See, while developing the UI, to bring reusability into application, we use inheritance, and to do that, follow the below guidelines. So to bring reusability, we use inheritance, and to do that, follow the below guidelines. All of you, carefully observe this picture. Identify all the common attributes between entities and put them in a hierarchical order as below. See, basically, if you prepare a chart like this, it will be easy for you in the future to understand. Did you understand my point? If you prepare a chart like this, it will be easy for you in the future to understand. Is the chart clear now? Look at the chart, very clearly describing now. Person, under that student, under that staff, under that teaching, under that non-teaching. So if you prepare like this, it will become easy for you in the future to understand. Okay, this is now. Any doubts on this? Finally, now define the classes based on the hierarchy. Now define the classes based on the hierarchy. Guys, come on, guys, define the classes now. These are the classes I defined. Just now I typed and shown you all the things. Are you guys clear with inheritance? Are you guys clear with inheritance? Understood? So next time onwards, when you are defining classes, we need to put all these things in the mind too before you write a class. When there are multiple classes, you require to remember all these particular things here. We need to do that. Is the ASP batch schedule announced that? I don't know. Who said you? The batch is there. You're telling batch at what time? I said you it will be in the next week. I did not tell you the date now. I too don't know. Let me verify. Is there any announcement? No, yeah, no date has been announced. Next time you people, no batches are announced here. When the batch is announced, they'll tell you, watch this. You ask your friends, ask your particular friends, or if you ask your particular friends to go through this site. If you go through the site, you will be finding the batch information here. Okay? The complete information of all the new batches is going to be present for you at this location. HTML notes I'll give you. That will be given in the ASP class because the notes is completely combined with ASP. The complete notes when the ASP starts, I'll give you. Okay. Okay, guys. So it's all about how you use inheritance in your applications. Okay. So we completed with inheritance also. What test link? For what test link? Test link will be sent to you. Test link will be sent to you. You will receive on your email. Sorry, you will receive on your mobile. Okay? No worries. You will receive on your mobile. Okay, guys. The next topic will be polymorphism. We'll start on Monday. The next topic will be polymorphism. We'll start on Monday. Okay, guys? Bye, all of you. We'll meet on Monday. Nice weekend. Bye.
The recording has stopped.